weekly Chairman's Update. Quite a busy week it's been, including a busy day today. It is appropriate that following our recent schedule, I'm going to talk about two more sections of the Washington GOP's 2024 platform, specifically sections 3 and 4. Section 3 of the platform describes our position on the rule of law and justice. And section 4 describes our policy position on election integrity. We'll include links to the text of the platform on these matters and screenshots of the language themselves. It's not a lot, as I've said before, but it is succinct, and it does really articulate our principles and our values. When it comes to Section 3 in the rule of law and justice, we basically talk about the deference that our government needs to have to the Constitution. At the federal level, the U.S. Constitution. At the state level, the state of Washington's Constitution. And it covers issues like the right to keep and bear arms, the right to privacy, matters like this. As you've heard me talk about in these updates, the Washington State Constitution speaks very clearly about the freedom, absolute freedom of conscience, an issue that was considered for the federal Constitution but not included at its drafting, but is in the Washington State Constitution and really talks to the core value of freedom of not just religion and speech, but the freedom to be independent and at liberty in your own thoughts, to believe what you want to believe. These are important things, and it is really appropriate that we're talking about the rule of law and justice on a day that has seen some very discouraging news from New York State, where the former president, Donald Trump, has been convicted by a trial court in New York on some very dubious charges having related to hush money allegedly paid to an individual. It's very discouraging to see this news out of New York. As I've said publicly, this case against Trump has been dodgy from the start. The prosecutors betrayed a real political partisanship and bias, no surprise there. And the real shocking part has been the judge overseeing this circus has really shown himself to be not a good judge. And I believe strongly, and the state party believes, that this conviction in New York will be appealed and overturned. One of the weakest parts of the whole thing were the jury instructions that this cartoonish judge gave to the jury there. Higher courts have specifically overturned convictions that have involved similar jury instructions, and I expect they will again in this case. But you're sure to hear about it in the coming days and weeks, and attempts being made to say that somehow this is proof that conservatives don't support the rule of law. On the contrary, this is going to be an opportunity to show that we do support the rule of law, that we do support both the trial system and the appeals system in our court system in this country. And what we don't want to see is the rule of law trivialized and politicized and, yes, weaponized. That's another term you're going to be hearing about a lot this summer and fall, the weaponization of the courts and of the institutions of government. We had a more local example of it recently, where our current state attorney general acted in what many believe is an illegal and unlawful way in making threats, we are told, it is alleged, to the state secretary of state on a matter related to name placement on the ballot for the upcoming state primary. If it is true, what the state secretary of state has alleged, that the state attorney general said to him, then it causes all kinds of issues and shows a strange disregard for lawful behavior on the part of our state's highest law enforcement official, the state attorney general. This has to do with the so-called Three Bobs episode and the state attorney general's reaction to that and a demand, allegedly, that he made to the Secretary of State that the Secretary of State put his name, the state attorney general's name, first on the primary ballot in the race for governor. If it's true, if that actually happened, that is a pretty flagrant violation of state law. But let's see how it all plays out, both in New York and here in Washington. Let's see how these cases work their way out, and let's wait for a final determination of what exactly happened. Section 4 of the Washington State GOP's platform has to do with election integrity. This is, of course, an evergreen topic. We've talked about it in these updates before. The platform, in a very succinct, tight couple of paragraphs, talks about what we would like to see in restoring election integrity to elections in Washington State. It's no news to any of you watching this that a key part of restoring election integrity and protecting election integrity is to do a better job of making sure that voter rolls, those databases of registered voters, are current, are clean, purged of people who shouldn't be on there, names that shouldn't be on there, people who've died, people who've moved out of state, people who shouldn't have been there in the first place. We need to do a better job of cleaning up those databases of registered voters at the 39 counties around the state in order to assure that when we mail out ballots in our all mail-in state, that we are mailing those ballots to people who really are there to receive them and vote them, and not be sending those ballots, which are valuable things, into a black hole of dead people, people who've moved away, and people who shouldn't have been on the list in the first place. So it's going to continue to be a focus of the Washington State GOP that we do a better job of cleaning up those databases so we're not mailing out precious ballots to people who aren't there. Ultimately, and our platform speaks to this as well, we would like to see a return to in-person voting. Same day, in-person voting. Now, there will always need to be some absentee ballots cast. That's our tradition. Of course, that would remain so. But we would like to see the bulk of our voting process be in person at a polling place and tabulated, counted on the same day, on election day. These are our priorities with election integrity, and we continue to pursue them on all fronts through the court system, yes, through the legislative process, yes, and through the bully pulpit, just talking about election integrity in a more confident and straightforward way. We will continue to do all of these things. So that's it for this week. Two more sections of our platform that I've highlighted: the importance of the rule of law and justice, and our commitment to election integrity, protecting it and developing it. And my goodness, the news with Donald Trump in New York and the current state attorney general here in Washington is full of examples of how we need to respect the rule of law and justice. There's going to be so much more to talk about on these issues in the weeks ahead. But for now, I hope you stay strong and be well. I'll talk to you again soon.